Now, you were telling us that you are in favor of social democracy, and you were going to describe what that means. So go ahead, Prasad.
All right. Well, social democracy is basically a system in which capitalism and socialism are performed or intertwined. And there
sounds like what we have today.
Excuse me?
That sounds like what we have today.
It's kind of an extension of what we have today. It's actually more along the lines of what Obama is, preaching, a little more than that, essentially.
Okay, give me an idea of what that means exactly.
Okay, I can actually give you an actual practical, realistic example. Sweden, the European country Sweden, it actually performs social democracy where it has socialized healthcare, it has socialized businesses, as well as capitalistic businesses, and it functions pretty much as it's one of the more successful nations in Europe.
Well, is it successful compared to the United States, or even I think you can compare Sweden probably to a state?
How about Hong Kong?
State in the United States?
Well, honestly, I think the United States is really like a coincidental success because it's not surrounded by that much competition geographically, and it profited from wars that essentially got it to a state of progress. So
wow, there's a lot of misinformation there.
I disagree with that. Now I'd like to
get back to social democracy.
Wait,
can we have a little more
explanation?
explanation?
Okay, if we
I
can
want to hear a little more about what social democracy
but I've got some questions.
You write your questions down. We'll get to them.
Social democracy, well, I think that in response to anarcho-capitalism, social democracy creates a standard that's created by an official authority.
Yes, and who will that be?
That would be ideally,
it would be me.
You see, a lot of people think. I mean, when I talk about the government, I mean, I don't try to estrange that from the public, okay? Because in democracy, in an ideal democracy, it isn't. It's comprised of the people. So
well, it's not, though.
Yes. In a republic democracy, it isn't because.
Let me use an example here. Democracy is two wolves and a sheep voting on what's for dinner. Who's going to be treated fairly? Never heard that before, have you?
No, I haven't.
But you see, that's the way it is. In a democracy, there's two white guys and a black guy. We can decide the black guys are slaves.
Right, but in a republic democracy, at least the one we have today.
I'm not defending the republic democracy that we have today.
I'm not either, but I'm not saying like we should go to a system of direct democracy either.
What are you saying?
I'm saying it like an in between of the two, because republic democracies tend to make it so that a certain group of people are always in power, and it's usually the rich, the intelligent.
So what would look different? How would it be different?
Does it really matter if the rich are always in charge? I mean, is the government going to be that much better if the poor are always in charge?
Put some homeless people in charge.
Well, not the poor, but the
if the middle class are in charge, because those middle class are going to use the power of the government to move above their class. Don't you want to make more money and have more things?
Of course, but I would,
and somebody in a position that can get those things is going to use them to get them. What you're assuming is that everyone is a bunch of saints, right? That if you can put them into these powers and they're not into these positions of power and they're not going to abuse those positions of power, then they must be saints. And if they're all saints, then what the hell do we need people in positions of power for in the first place?
We're not all saints, and you're right. But I don't think.
And so if you make a position of power, don't you think that the devils in society, the criminals, the people that want to abuse power and want to lord it over other people, don't you think they'll be attracted to those positions of power?
Yes, I do believe that they will be attracted to the positions and the seats of power. But in a system, especially in the system today, I think that people or first of all, there shouldn't be, that many filibusters and things that prolong actual legislation that defines the person's actual platform.
Do you think that do you think the founding fathers imagined filibusters when they set up the role of government?
Yes, that's why I'm saying there should be a bit of reform in,
I totally agree with you. There should be some reform. But now you and I disagree on the types of reform. So then what are we going to have? We're going to have a compromise, which is going to be this mediocre system, which is going to look a lot like what we have today that doesn't really serve anyone and only serves the politicians and the lobbyists. Here's a question I have for you, and this is coming from sort of a rights standpoint. Do you believe that humans have rights?
Yes.
Do you believe that I have the right to, speech, to do what I want, to say what I want, as long as I don't hurt other people?
Yes, I do.
Okay, great. Then that governments are implemented in order to essentially control those things.
Right.
They're supposed to control people's behavior. Now, what do you really need a social democracy for? In Obama's sense of the word, he wants to take from the poor, give to the rich, make sure the sick are taken care of, feed the hungry, and take care of all the people that have problems. Right? So let's get a scenario here. I've got the right to do what I want, say what I want, work for my money, keep it, and there's a person who's poor. Now, do you propose the government take money from me and give it to that person?
No, I'm not. I'm saying it's Obama-esque. I'm not saying that you're going to do the thing where Obama's going to, give tax cuts to the poor and give tax, hikes to the rich. What I'm saying is a system that has socialized health care.
But hold on, okay, great. Socialized health care. So there's a person who's sick. Who's going to pay to take care of that sick person?
Essentially the people, yeah.
The people. So me.
Yes.
Now, where did the obligation come from?
It's a tax system.
I understand it's a tax system. I get it. Here's a question I need you to answer for yourself, and it might take you a few days to work through this. But where did the obligation come from? Where did it come from that I should have to give to that other person so that they're well? I'm not saying that I'm not willing to, but you're proposing to force me because you'll either throw me in jail if I don't pay your taxes.
Well, it's because of the country that you live in and the opportunity it has given you.
The plot of land.
The plot of land. Now, it's the country I live in. Now, I was born here.
Well, I mean, if
don't
you
you
live
think
in
that gives me a certain...
It's not the same thing as living in America. There's opportunity here that isn't in other countries, and you should be grateful for that by paying taxes.
You should pay, Mark, because you live in that land of opportunity.
How did that obligation for gratitude come about? I was born here. I didn't ask for it. This is what I've got. Now, I have rights. I have the right to work for what I have and keep it, but you propose that because I'm here and because some other people created this country that I am somehow obligated to give money to sick people. How was that obligation created?
By the establishment of the American government.
Yeah, but
without your consent,
how did the American government? How did it become legitimate? Now remember, the Constitution of the United States was implemented by rich white guys, okay, that had no
hundreds of years ago.
They have no legitimacy in ruling in the first place, and it was ratified by 10 of the 13 states, so it was implemented by force on 3 states. On all the citizens thereof, and forced on these people. This is just a system of force and coercion. What you're talking about, the only way to implement what you have is violence and imprisonment and threats of violence.
Are you okay with that?
Is it all right?
I think that's a little, too radical of a viewpoint.
It's not too radical. Wait a second. Whoa.
Listen.
If I decide I don't want to pay my taxes, what are you going to do? You're king. You're in charge of the social democracy. What are you going to do?
No, I'm not going to pay either.
Probably have to incarcerate you.
Okay. Now, wait a second. I've decided that I'm a free individual, that I was born free, and I have the right to keep and bear arms. You're going to send armed guys after me?
Well, you can leave the country. I mean, it's rules.
If I don't want to leave.
What if your social democracy, like ours, has taxes on the way out and fences on the borders, just like ours?
Listen, what I'm saying is...
You just want to kill people.
You want to hurt people if they don't agree with your situation. Thank you for the call. 800-259-9231. That's the SACL CAI toll-free line. Good job showing the gun in the room, Mark. I like that.
Thank you.
It always gets me all stirred up when you do that.
You have to think about it when you're looking at these situations.
More on the way. It's Free Talk Live.